Good evening, everyone. So today I'll be presenting. We'll learn about core motion, one of the important topics during this seminar. So basically, let us understand what is core motion. So basically, core motion is one of the framework of iOS developed by iOS Apple company for detecting any kind of movement of iOS devices. For example, the lifting of our wrist to show the Apple Watch, though this is not an Apple Watch, but lifting of the wrist to show Apple Watch or logging our pace while running a cycling app. So in all these cases, the core motion turns the motion into data file. So basically, core motion works by a series of motion sensors on the devices. So depending on the device, we have different types of motion sensors on our devices. So basically, almost all iOS devices have the accelerometer sensor in them. Accelerometer sensor basically it measures the acceleration in three directions: X, Y, and Z direction. Similarly, the another sensor is gyroscope. So this gyroscope device, this sensor gives us the rotation rate, not the absolute rotation, but it gives us the rotation rate in three dimensions, X, Y, and Z. Similarly, in some devices like the advanced devices like the iPhone, above iPhone 6, we have the altimeter sensor in them. So basically, this altimeter sensor this measures the changes in pressure, air pressure, and with these changes in air pressure, we can find the change in the altitude. So this sensor is used to find change in altitude. Likewise, we have magnetometer sensor in them. So in the cold location, the cold location framework uses this magnetometer in order to find the location, the user's location or the phone location. So these are the basically four major sensors that we find in iOS devices, and core motion have the methods to use this type of sensors. And we as a developer needs to distinguish mainly two different things from our sensor data. The first thing is noise and the second thing is signal. So noise means all the data that is meaningless or misleading, and noise and signal means useful data. So we as a developer needs to identify which is noise and which is signal, and then use this sensor data for further data processing. Basically, the core motion, there are two different methods to get the data from the sensor using the core motion. The first is push method. In case of push method, this push method acquires the data from the sensor and then gets the data back to the application. But this method is infinite method. It means that we are continuously getting this data whenever we start the sensor. So it means that since we are getting large amount of data from the sensor, so this data is consuming huge memory, and so that this type of method needs to be operated in a separate thread. So last seminar we learned about multi-threading. So the multi-threading concept should be used while implementing this push method. Similarly, another method is pull method. This is basically a safe method because in this method we acquire data from the sensor in a time loop. So we specify some time loop, and then within that time loop we ask the sensor to give us some data. So often we use some timers like NS time interval or something like that, so that we can get our data and then implement on the required methods, the sensor, the handling methods inside that time loop. So these are two methods of acquiring the data from the sensor. So in our application, in our research, so we are gonna using this pull method because we are specifying certain sampling rate and then certain time interval, and then in that time interval we will get the data from the sensor. So let us talk about measurement axis. Basically, for accuracy measurement, this measures in X, Y, and Z direction. So x-axis is the horizontal measurement as shown in this figure. So as the device moves rightwards, the sensor value is positive, it increases, and as it moves towards leftward, the value decreases. This shows the sign notation for the x direction acceleration measurement. Similarly, for y direction measurement, as the iPhone or the iOS device moves away from us, the value increases, and as it moves towards us, the value decreases. Likewise, in z-axis, as you go up, the value increases. As you go down, the value decreases. So these are the sign notations for acceleration measurement. Likewise, for gyroscope measurement, for attitude measurement, we have this means the angle measurement using these devices. So there are three types of angle: the pitch given by pitch, roll, and yaw value. So the pitch is basically it's a rotation around x-axis. So you can see the rotation around x-axis is like this, as shown in the slide, and then the rotation around y-axis is like this along the y-axis, and rotation around z-axis is like this. So since we are getting all the orientation from this device, so we can measure the orientation of device or the movement of the device in all the 3 directions using the gyroscope sensor.
So for the UAV, if we use pitch, we will change our altitude of the direction. So if we pitch it up, it will go up. If we down, it will go down. So if we roll, it will turn a course. Okay, it will turn a course. It will one direction and turn a course. If we yaw, we'll just directly change the horizontal direction.
Yeah, and one thing I should mention is that in case of the acceleration measurement, the unit is in terms of G. G means 1 G corresponds to 10 meter per second square, so it corresponds to 1 G. And then in case of the angle measurement, it's in terms of radian, not in terms of degree, in terms of radian. So that is the measurement unit by using this core motion. So before we start to the how we are going to coding this core motion, we need to understand the CM motion manager. So CM motion manager is basically a very important class that that is used for starting and managing these motion services using the iOS devices. Basically, using this class, CM motion manager class, we access the accelerometer data or the rotation data, magnetometer data, or other device motion data. So this is a very important class that we should learn about. So there is an important notice from the Apple developer that while initializing this CM motion class, it should only be initialized only once. So we should keep in mind that we should not initialize this class twice or more than 2 times. It should be initialized only once, because if we initialize it multiple times, then it can affect the rate at which the device, the sampling rate at which we get the values from the sensor. This is an important message. And basically, this user interface we can see. This I refer from the core motion application that is available. It's a free application that is available in the developer website, Apple developer website. So from this application, we can see that we can get the acceleration value and then draw the plot. We can plot the acceleration data in x-axis, y-axis, z-axis. We can also plot the rotation data or the device motion data. So this type of application. So for this presentation, I will mainly focus on the acceleration data, how we're gonna get the acceleration data, and how you're gonna set the sampling frequency of the acceleration data, how you're gonna plot this, or how you're gonna put this data in a label, and also how you're gonna upload this data to the server. So let me introduce a small method. So I will also talk about this method in the detail in the demonstration. So basically, the important thing over here is CM motion manager. So we initialize the CM motion manager from the application Delegate. So in the application Delegate, we have already initialized the CM motion manager. So once the CM motion manager is allocated, now since I talked that we have to use this method in a background queue or in a separate thread. So we need to implement this method in a closure like this. So whenever we are implementing a background queue, we need to, as we learned last week, that we need to set a pointer for our every object. So we are sending a pointer over here. So on the bar week means we are sending a pointer week. So it means that whenever we set a pointer week to our UI view controller, so this means that this pointer does not return the memory. So due to this reason, we are sending this pointer as a week. So first of all, within this closure, first of all, we check whether the accelerometer sensor is available or not. So this is a basic step. We need to do it for every devices. So if a device doesn't have accelerometer sensor, then this method doesn't implement. So it doesn't give us the error. But if it doesn't, if we do not implement this method, then if we directly ask the sensor to get us data, but there is no accelerometer sensor in the device, then it will be error. It throws error. So to remove that error, we say that if the motion manager have the accelerometer sensor, then perform this step. So if the device has the accelerometer sensor, then after that we check whether after that we will set the time interval. So this is a pull method. So in here we set the update interval. So update interval is the interval at which at which we should get the sensor data. For example, if we set the update interval to let's say 10, it means that we are getting 10 number of data like this. So after we set the update interval, now we start a queue. So since we are getting lots and lots of data, within this update interval. So we need to create a queue. So the queue here is basically it's named as the NS operation queue. So this NS operation queue means that we are getting lots of sensor data, and then all the sensor data are listed in the queue. And then when our sensor data is the task is finished, the queue is over. So it's like that. So we create a queue, and then in the queue we get our sensor data. So the sensor data is the same, means core motion accelerometer data. We give a pointer as the accelerometer data. So over here, the accelerometer data contains the acceleration data, the acceleration value in x, y, and z direction. So whenever we write the accelerometer data dot acceleration dot x, so it means we get the acceleration data in x direction. Similarly, dot y means in y direction, and dot z means in z direction. So this is how we will get the acceleration data for core motion using this framework. So it's very simple. Similarly,
Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Ashish, the update interval means number of data or
not
it's a
number,
time
but
frame.
update interval means it's
It depends
inverse.
on time,
It's like an inverse of sampling rate. So when you have a sampling rate, let's say 100, it means that in 1 second you are getting 100 amount of data. So this update interval basically is the inverse of sampling rate. So it means that 0.01. If it's 100 in 0.01, it means that in 0.01 second you get one data. Update interval. Okay.
So if your slider is similar, this is accelerometer mean. This is not defining
Not
here,
defining here, yeah.
but actually it's 0.005. So when the slider becomes 1, so 0.005 will pass 0.05.
Yeah. So if the slider value is, you can see if the slider value, first of all,
Wait a moment. So okay, you can.
yeah, the accelerometer minimum, it's a double value. It's not defined here, not shown in this slide. But for this example, let's say the accelerometer minimum is 0.01. It's a constant value.
0.005.
No, 0.
No.
Yeah.
0.05.
0.01. The sampling rate is 100, so it means that this is 0.01. And if the slider value is 0, this means that this will be 0.01. Okay. Now if the slider value increases, let's say you have set the slider value from 1 to 100. So this means that if the slider value is 1, so 1 into 0.005 gives certain more interval.
So when the slider value, in the application, they will have a slider in there. So you put the left side of the slider, it will become 0. The right side will become 99. It's just like this.
Just increasing your time interval. Let's say decreasing your sampling rate.
Or you just say it's directly equals to the accelerator.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also fine. I think in the most case we would do that. We don't need to slider anyway.
Yeah.
Or once you start this part, it will always starting in another queue. It will always running the interval of this once you start this part. So they will always doing this part for you.
And the same applies to the gyroscope. Everything is same. The only difference is that we can see here. In the first case, we have set the set accelerometer update interval, start accelerometer updates. In the second case, every method is same. The only difference is set gyro update interval, set gyro updates to queue. So everything is similar. Just this method, this term is different. So from this, we can get the rate of rotation in x, y, and z axis. Same thing. So this is how we get the rotation or the accelerometer from our sensor. Now, in this presentation, I also would like to introduce about the cloud server, the Dropbox. Since we are not gonna send our application data, this acceleration value or rotation value to the server for easy access. So, for example, let us imagine that you have not implemented any server in your application. Then once you get the sensor data, either you need a pen drive to save the data in the pen drive, or you need to email the data to your own email address. So that takes time, and also that's not so much efficient. So that's why for our application program, we have used the Dropbox server, so that we can easily upload all the sensor data to the cloud, and then also retrieve the data from the cloud. That's the easy option.
I think maybe before we go to that, let's look at more detail about this tool line. let's apply. So firstly, weak cell. So weak cell. So do you know what is weak cell? What is weak cell? Weak cell is here we definite a weak cell, which equals themselves. But however, here if we define a strong file, here it will all doing the things online, so we don't want that. Because myself only on main queue. Only on main queue. So I don't want a strong cell, we need a weak cell. However, as we need to do graph view is inside the controller there view. They can draw some waves. Maybe we can explain later. Maybe just give them data. We can see here accelerometer data dot acceleration dot x. This is how we can get real-timely the data from the accelerometer. So accelerometer data.
Point over here.
Okay.
From the CMS limited data class. So from this class, we get the limited data.
So for every time interval, we'll get this accelerometer data by from the motion manager will give us that accelerator because we said please give me that. Okay. In next page we go. We can see that we ask them for gyroscope data, so they will give us gyroscope data. Okay. Same motion manager, but we just tell them, okay, this is the start of gyro updates, so they will give us the gyroscope data. So if we call this accelerator updates, give them to give us accelerator.
Yeah, so in the later demonstration, I will show how to get this data and how to make a file from this data and then how to upload to Dropbox. So why are you using Dropbox? I'll just say in this coming slide. So basically, many of you don't know what's a Dropbox. Dropbox is a cloud server interface. It's a web-based service that synchronizes our files across all the platform, means across all the devices.
So here you can ask them who did use Dropbox.
Yeah. So who are using Dropbox?
You never use Dropbox?
You're using?
Never use Dropbox? Dropbox 使ったことあります？
この前の当先生の300枚のやつでドロップボックスでできる。
300万。
なんか計画書の時に計画書 LINE でなんか読んどいてくださいって言ってたやつ。確かドロップボックスで。
そっか。ダウンロードした。はい。で自分も無料で申請できるので、ぜひ申請して使ってみてください。So please try to apply. You already use Dropbox, right?
Yeah, I use.
Also, maybe you can try to apply and use Dropbox. So all of us we can share folders more conveniently. あなたは Dropbox は使ってますか？
It's very simple. Once you have a file, you need to create a Dropbox account. In the Dropbox account, if you create a file, if you upload a file, and you can access that file from any of your devices, from any of the devices at any place. So that's the advantage of using Dropbox. So its application, this Dropbox is, you can get the Dropbox for PC, for Mac, for every system, Linux, also for iPhone, BlackBerry, Android, so many devices. So this is pretty much universal. So once we save a file in a PC, then we can access the file from any devices. Left another PC or another smartphone using the same account. So this is the advantage of using Dropbox. And this slide shows the source volume index. So we can see that pretty old data, but we can see that popularity of Dropbox. The more on the internet, the more person are searching for Dropbox. We can see the users of Dropbox as compared to other vendors. We can see the popularity is increasing. So this says that it's very popular engine, cloud server engine.
So there's also other cloud driver.
Other cloud drivers, yeah. Boxmate, Google Docs, Mobile. So comparison to other docs, we can see pretty much on the race. And in this, we we're going to develop an application program. So the application program is basically in an iOS device we have a sensor like the MEMS or the camera. So we have many different types of sensor. We have the CPU, we have the CPU inside these iOS devices. So we make use of the CPU power. So and we write the application program, use the core motion framework from the iOS, extract the data from the sensor using this core motion, and then after acquiring the data, we store the data and also upload the data to the Dropbox. So this is what basically we're going to do in this application. The measurement flowchart of this application. So first of all, we install the application program, make application program, install the application program in smart devices. So and then after writing the application program, we connect to the cloud. So connecting to the cloud means connecting to Dropbox. We create our account in the Dropbox, and then we link. I will show this later. To link the Dropbox to our application, we need to be registered as a developer for Dropbox, and also for developer to run the real application in the real devices. We need to be registered as a developer for iOS, for the Apple. So I'll show this later. So we need to link our app to the Dropbox account using the username and password, and then installing, connecting, and then after connecting, we record the data. Record the string data or the routine data, and after recording data, we visualize the data to the plots. So this is the basic measurement flow of this application program. So I will show some steps to how to upload a file to Dropbox. Maybe this is a little bit difficult portion, but I will explain in simple term. So first of all, we need to download the SDK. SDK means Software Development Kit. SDK for Dropbox. It's available. It's open source SDK. We can download from the website. So we need to download this SDK for Dropbox so that we can link our application.
It is some files.
Some files.
Yeah. File you can insert into your application file. You can just drag them into your IDE Xcode. They will say, "Oh, do you want to create a new framework?" So you say yes, and something you create a framework. But somehow we need to delicately adjust a little bit. I think Ashish will explain it later.
Yeah. So after we download the SDK for Dropbox, we need to call the function. Means import the function, the Dropbox. This is the header files. Means it contains all the necessary methods and all the functions so that we can use the Dropbox interface. So we need to import this into our project. After we import this into our project, we know the app delegate. I think everyone knows what is app delegate. In case of Objective-C, we have the header file and the implementation file. So in the implementation file, we initialize the Dropbox. This we do in the app delegate portion because once we do it in the app delegate portion, we don't have to do this again and again. For example, we want to upload we want to upload a file, maybe at a regular interval. Maybe after every 5 minutes, we need to update. We need to upload the file. So this means that if we do this in our main program, then we need to call this method many times. So once we call this method over here, we don't have to. Once it's called, we don't have to call again and again. So basically, we after importing the Dropbox framework in this method, we need to initialize our Dropbox like this. So we have a Dropbox account manager, and then we initialize the Dropbox through some app key. So once we are registered as a Dropbox developer, it gives us some application key and application secret. This means that there is a definite ID. So that for a specific application, there is a specific ID. So we need to input that ID over here, and then after inputting the ID, we can run Dropbox in our application.
So Ashish means that this part of code, you need to write to the file of appdelegate.app. In this file, you need to write this part in there. Okay. appdelegate, until now, in most of the cases, we just throw them into the supporting files folder. We don't use that, but this time we need to use app delegation. Okay, delegate. We need to use this part. Put them into the code. Okay?
This part will be for like logging in and logging out for our application.
Not login, not the application. To link to the Dropbox. So whenever you open the application, whenever you send suppose you have a button that says save the file to Dropbox. Whenever you click the button, then a menu pops out that give you Dropbox login information, your username of Dropbox and your password. So you need to input that. For example, when you open a Facebook application, first of all you get a pop-up to enter your username for the Facebook app. So similar like that. So you can see here, this means that application did finish launching with option. This means that whenever the application is started, this method will be called. So whenever the application is started, you need to log in with the Dropbox, first of all. So after you log into Dropbox, then you can later sync your files. Once you log in, you don't need to log in again and again until you quit the application.
So this part, why we do this part in Delegate? Because this function, as I said, that when this finish launching with options, when you launch the application did finish launching, and this part will be done. Okay, with options, launch options, whatever. This is an SD train. Okay. However, firstly you need to create account manager. This is the object that manage your account manager. By how to create a manager, we call a class method. Okay, alloc is just calling from nothing. Okay, then you have somehow you have a DA account manager and initiate it with able key and secret. Okay, so you have two important variable with a two string. One is this able key, one is a secret. Now it's read AB is secret, but later you need to copy some number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABCD or something into here, dash or something into here. There will be some detail. You can get it later. One application have one app key and one secret. You need to register it, and then you should set the manager. Set a shared manager, account manager by using Dropbox. By setting this, so you can use Dropbox in your application here.
So this is part. So once you create the app, once you link to the account, we need to specify the URL and types. So this also in the demonstration. This URL types you can see in the project. In the project we have this type of URL type. So here you need to write the URL scheme. So here you write this is the app key. So you need to write the app key over here with the initialization with db dash. So db means Dropbox dash app key. So this is this type of URL we have to define before starting the application.
Generally, URL scheme. Do you know how many type of URL scheme? URL schemes.
Types?
Yes. How many types do you have?
I don't know.
Okay. Generally, you have most favorably is two type. One is HTTP. HTTP is a very famous team, right? All the homepage you see in HTTP. Another is FTP. FTP is for file transporting. Okay, also other names, schemes, but this is generally using for your server, acting your server, sending some requests to your server. So here the URL scheme is db attu something. This is your app key. You put that before. So when you're sending a request, you're starting with a string, not HTTP something, but db something. And if you're sending them to the Dropbox server, Dropbox know, oh, okay, this is this application, I know. Okay, so what do we do? Then we can get it.
So yeah, URL scheme is that key, and role is the app secret that we use.
No, role is not we don't need this. We just need to input the URL scheme over here.
Here we don't need secret.
Yeah. It's just app key. So you can see over here. This method is implemented over here. So in the application, it opens the URL. This URL we have defined over here, and then you can see. So once it is, so this checks whether our application is successfully linked to the ones. So initially you input your username and password for your Dropbox account. So once you input, it checks whether the application is linked successfully or not. It means that whether this is correct or not. So it has some method like handle open URL. So this URL we have already defined there. So it checks with this app key, and then if this is correct, then oh, your application is linked successfully, now you can proceed on. If this is not correct, then you get an error message. So this method also you can specify to check whether your application is linked successfully or not.
So this is also in the app delegate.
Also in app delegate file.
Same file. You can just write under the file we read before.
It's the methods. And then after that, so the application launch, and then after launching the application, you log in username, password, and then the application says that, oh, you are successfully connected to Dropbox. Now it will check if you are connected to Dropbox or not. So if here you can see the method. If the Dropbox account is successfully linked, then you can see. So we need to check whether it's linked or not. If it is not linked, so you can see here, exclamation mark means this is something not. So it means that if the Dropbox is not linked, then it says link again. So sometimes you may have the scenario that the Dropbox account is not linked. So in that case, again,
For example, first time.
for example, you input your password wrong. Then in that case, again, again the pop-up comes out to input it again. So it means like this: if it is not linked successfully, then link again from the controller. So this method says like this. So we need to check this type of method, write this type of method.
So can we link the account with just input some constant inside the program, so we don't need user to input the account and name every time? Is that possible?
Constant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's possible. But
So if we don't want your user know that, or our data is sending to some Dropbox account, we don't want the user know or Dropbox name and account and password. So we're just writing them inside the program, and when they use them, they just use it. They don't need to realize that, oh, I'm using Dropbox or something. Is that possible?
maybe I haven't tried, but maybe I think that should be possible, because we can give some method so that it takes the default value of the username and the password. Should be possible. If I'm not sure, because that's a security issue, because that's probably a security issue. So maybe it's pretty much because of security may not be possible as well. We haven't checked yet for that case.
Yeah, please check it. I hope we can do that.
So after we successfully link to our account, then we perform the real coding over here. It means that after linking, we have to create a class. The class name is DB file system. So this DB file system, this is the class that manages all the different processes that we do for Dropbox, for syncing the file. For example, for reading the file to Dropbox, or for writing the files to Dropbox, copying the file, deleting the file. So every process is managed by this DB file system. So here we can see that after the account is linked, so if there is an account, this means that if the account is linked, then we create a DB file system. So I give a pointer as a file system to DB file system. I allocate and init with the account, means init with the already linked account. So by this line of code, we can see that our file system is created. So now we can use this file system to do anything, means to delete the file, create the file, edit the file, anything. So this is the main important part of the program while we are using the Dropbox. And so after we already created the file system, now we can upload any file to a Dropbox account. For example, this is an simple example of how we can upload a file. For example, let us say that we need to, for uploading file to Dropbox, first of all, we need a file name and the file location. Where in the Dropbox we want to upload the file, we need to find the location of our upload and the name of the file. So here we can see it's a file name. So I haven't shown here, but file name may be any NS string, any name, 1, 2, 3, ABC, anything. It's a file name. And
in the Ashish program, the file name is the
file
time
name is the time
of the
program,
starting of the record.
starting of the record. So that is pretty much unique, because at every
.txt.
.txt, yeah. So at every record we have different time. So this means that your record file is not overlapped. To make sure I have mentioned with the date and time. So that's pretty much
Also by the file name, you know when is the
When is the
record
record,
is
yeah.
done. So it's pretty
much.
So what if we don't give the file name? It will just save
It's wrong.
randomly.
It will not save.
It's
You
not
need to
working.
have a file name.
You have to say the file name.
Yeah, it may upload sometimes, but there is nothing in the file. It will be null. You can see the file name. There will be something uploaded, but it will say null. It means that nothing.
So this application is did based on object orientation, right? There's a class named recording. So this in this recording, there's a property. Property means there's a variable var, like in Swift, var named starting time. So it will be time, and you automatically, if you ask them, they can generate a string. We use record name. Okay, recording name. And if you say, okay, I want to save this record to a file, so you just give the record to, for example, this kind of function. Then file name just use record name plus .txt will be generated file name automatically.
That's one part, generating the file names. Another part is identify the location where you want to upload your files. So to identify the location, you need to define the location. The location is defined by db path. It's a path, Dropbox path is the path where you want to upload a file. So here you can see a Dropbox path is I will define as a new path. That's a pointer. So it is defined as Dropbox path root. Here root means the root folder. You know, root means the lowest level folder you can get. For example, you create an app. You have a Dropbox account. For example, you create an app named Motion Grab. So inside the Motion Grab, if you upload any file to a root file, it means that it will open inside your lowest level. Inside the Motion Graph, you will see all the files inside the Motion Graph folder. However, you can make many subfolders. Inside the Motion Graph, you have the many, let's say the real 2017, August 7th, so like this, you can make many subfolders. I can show that later.
But remember, never save any file to the root folder.
Yeah.
Always save in subfolders. Okay, or your root folder will be full of old files, then you don't know, whoa, where is my file I'm searching for.
Like if a main folder is like a folder name A and subfolder is B, if we use this root, it will go to and save in B folder, right?
Not in the main folder.
A
Because here you can see, here you can see it is root file and the destination. The child means the subfolder. The subfolder or the sub file is the destination directory. This means that this is just a simple NS string, which is a file name. So inside the Motion Graph, if you say to this now, let's say 6 p.m. record. So inside Motion Graph, 6 p.m. the file name you have over here. Okay.
So here they are with the dash and file name. They'll save them to the root folder, right?
Root folder, yeah.
But actually, what I'm saying that always save in the subfolder is means that before that dash file name, we should create more subfolders.
So if you want to save in B, you should write /B and then again slash and then like this. So that creates a B subfolder and it will be saved inside your B subfolder, the file, required file.
Actually, just doing here, showing an example, but don't do that. Please use
to make it more systematic to all the records. So you can see once you define the path, now you define the file, the Dropbox file, the file to be uploaded. So Dropbox file, you use the DB file system, as I told earlier. This manages all the writing or deleting the file. So you use the DB file system to create a file. The path is new path, in the new path location, and error you don't need this, just no error. If there is no error, there is you don't need. So you create a file inside the Dropbox, inside the root folder, inside the location. The destination is this one. So this line of code says that. And then after creating the file, this line of code creates the file. Now you need to, in the file, you need to write the contents of the file. So this is just a file. You need to write the contents. So in the file, this is the file, you write the contents. So this is the contents of the file. This is any string, anything, the contents of the file. So after you write this will be uploaded to Dropbox in the desired location. So this is basically how you write the files. So if you want to edit, you want to delete the file, then there is another method over here, maybe delete file at location this. If you want to move the file, then same thing, move file to add destination this from destination this. So there's many methods, many different methods inside this Dropbox file system. So basically, the main important is how to create a file, since we are creating a file, or sometimes how to delete a file. So
You
those
can
are
see
the
that
most important methods.
this method is with the class, which means class method. And this is with minus, with object method. So they can use, didn't create any object until here, right? But they can do that. And then they give them to the file. This kind of initiator, okay? And also this kind of initiator. However, this is need the object to do that.
So these are the steps to upload how to use Dropbox, but sometimes there are many quite complicated. Sometimes your Dropbox quite doesn't successfully integrate with your application. So in that case, sometimes we have to play with some settings. Sometimes there is a bitcode. I will show this later. Some bitcode option we have to disable this. We have to import some frameworks inside our project. Also, we have to import some more frameworks inside our project. Sometimes the app doesn't build up, so we need to add some settings. So maybe I'll show this later in the demonstration. So now these are some of the methods how to use the core motion, how to use the Dropbox in the application. So now let's start a small demonstration and show the demonstration. How to use this?
Let me save another file.